We're good?
To call to order the regular meeting for the Town of Brunswick Planning Board. I'll be acting chair for this evening. We'll start with pledge allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a number of items on the agenda tonight that are posted on the town signboard and on the town website. They are as follows. Number 1, Brunswick Acres major subdivision. Number 2, Paulson Development site plan. Number 3, Brunella waiver of subdivision. Number 4, Santoro minor subdivision. Number 5, Atlas Renewables. And then we have perhaps zoning law amendment discussion and new business. We'll start the meeting with a review of the meeting minutes from the August 4th meeting. Did everybody have a chance to review those minutes? And did anyone have any changes, corrections, deletions? Hearing none, I'll enter into a motion to accept the planning board meeting minutes from August 4th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Awesome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So first on our agenda is Brunswick Acres. Maybe. Brunswick Road Development, major subdivision, Brunswick Acres Plan Development District. The applicant proposes a major subdivision with regard to the Brunswick Acres Plan Development District on a 44.1 acre parcel of land located along the north side of Brunswick Road, New York State Route 2, just west of Heather Ridge Road. Brunswick Road Development LLC is the applicant, and the town designated engineer for that project is Laverge. And last meeting, we went over a resolution. Do you want to discuss that further?
Sure. So, for the record, at the August 4th meeting, the board did review a draft resolution in detail. This would be a draft resolution to consider conditional approval for the major subdivision. The resolution does go through the procedural history of the project. Started out in front of the town board as a plan development district, underwent a coordinated seeker review. The town board is serving as lead agency. The town board did make a seeker determination and approved the PDD subject to conditions after having gone through all applicable and required process. Once the PDD was approved, the major subdivision application was submitted to the planning board. Planning board determined to continue utilizing Laverge Group as town designated review engineer, and having served in that role with the town board for the PDD review. And the procedure in front of the planning board is then reviewed in the resolution. Two principal issues here that arose. First was the issue concerning the grading of the site and removal of material from the site. In front of the town board, the project was proposed to be balanced, meaning the material would be graded and left on site, and no material would be removed. And the seeker review reviewed the project so that the site would be balanced without the material being removed. There were plans presented that proposed removing approximately 90,000 yards of material from the site. And at that point, the planning board indicated that that was not consistent with the PDD approval or the seeker review, and indicated the applicant could pursue that plan, but would need to go back to the town board for further PDD review as well as reopening of seeker, or could revise the grading plan to continue to balance the site without the removal of material. That resulted in a fairly lengthy process of revising the grading plan and coming up with a proposal to balance the site. The resolution does also go through the fact that during this period of time, the COVID lockdown was in place, and there were several meetings that were not held by the board or were canceled by the board, and that resulted in a further delay of the project. Ultimately, a grading plan was submitted to the town that did balance the site. That's undergone significant technical review by the village group, as well as the town and the SCORE officer, the water department, and the building department. And the resolution does go through that process and determine that ultimately the grading plan did meet the town requirements. But then the second significant issue arose, which was health department review of the project. And because of the significant grading that was now proposed for the site, the health department, and this arose earlier this year, came to the conclusion that they could not review and approve the septic design for all the lots until the site reached buildable grade, so that they could perform and observe the necessary percolation tests. Because of that, that presented a procedural issue to the town in terms of the site grading work to be completed either through a work permit, which was not really cognizant under the town code, or continue through the subdivision review process. And under the subdivision review process, one of the proposals was a phased approach to phase the project between those lots that had received health department approval and those that had not, or an alternate approach. And ultimately, the board determined that the alternate approach, which is to continue the project with consideration of the full 24 residential lots, full stormwater proposal for grading of the entire site, would be considered and considered through the approach of a conditional approval, whereby certain conditions would need to be met by the owner applicant at its own risk prior to the subdivision plat being stamped both by the health department and the town, which would then allow it to be filed in the county clerk's office. All that by way of procedure, all those are set forth in the recital clauses to establish the procedural history and explanation of the project. Then the resolution proceeds into the substantive body of it, whereby the board would grant conditional final approval, subject to satisfaction of the following conditions prior to the plat being stamped by the town. And we went through these at the last meeting. I do think it's important to step through them again tonight to see if there's any further questions or comments. I'll start by noting that there has been one substantive change, and that's in condition 5, dealing with grading and the requirement for geotechnical inspections, but we'll go through that when we get there. I'll note that there are, we'll call them typographical corrections in the resolution from the prior meeting to this meeting, where it indicated planning board review engineer. That's been now amended to town designated review engineer, since we have the village group acting in that role. There's an additional recital clause to indicate during the course of the project review, even though the PDD allowed up to 26 residential lots, the current plan of subdivision is for 24 residential lots. That's now noted in the recital clause. So going to the proposed conditions, again, number 1, that all conditions in the town board PDD approval remain applicable and are mandatory conditions for the project, and they're incorporated as subdivision comments as well, or conditions. The resolution of the town board approving this is attached to the resolution as Appendix A to set forth those conditions as well. So it makes it clear that the town board conditions applicable to the project continue to be applicable and required and are considered subdivision conditions as well. Number 2, in addition to the financial security requirements that are included in the PDD approval, financial security pursuant to Brunswick zoning law, section 160-101, shall be provided for the site grading work as set forth in the project site grading plan and slope stability analytical report. In connection with that, a bonding security agreement for the site grading work in form and content acceptable to the town has to be executed by the applicant, and a bond or other financial security in form and amount acceptable to the town must be provided to the town prior to commencement of any of the site grading work. And the financial security must remain in place with the town until the rough grading work of the project has been completed by the applicant and the site is stabilized as determined by the town MS4 officer. Why the MS4 officer? That's the office that's charged with making sure stormwater is complied with stormwater requirements and that the site is properly stabilized. Number 3, further in compliance with Brunswick zoning law, section 160-101, in addition to what's required in the PDD approval, the applicant's required to establish for the town an inspection fee escrow account in an amount to be determined by the town of Brunswick to cover all town designated review engineer and MS4 officer inspections of the site grading work. The applicant will submit an estimate for the projected grading costs, together with an estimated schedule for the grading activities. The estimate and schedule should be of sufficient detail to determine the reasonableness of the proposed estimate and the schedule. That information will be used by the town in considering an appropriate inspection fee escrow amount, which shall be in a minimum of 5% of the total estimated grading costs. That's a factor that the town has used in the past regarding inspection escrow accounts. All fees for inspections during the grading of the Brunswick Acres PDD project site shall be the responsibility of the applicant and paid by the town out of the escrow account. The amount of the inspection escrow shall be subject to review from time to time by the town of Brunswick during the grading activities. At no time shall the account be an amount less than $5,000. In the event the applicant fails to maintain that inspection fee escrow account in a minimum balance of $5,000, a stop work order will be issued. And all grading activities will cease at the project site. The applicant will be entitled to an accounting of all inspection fees, and at the conclusion of the grading work, a final accounting of the inspection fees will be undertaken, and if any amount remains in the escrow account for the inspection of the grading work, that will be returned to the applicant. Number 4, all site grading work must be performed in compliance with the Brunswick Acres PDD site grading plan and the slope stability analytical report. Number 5 is the one that undergone some revision from the last meeting. I think I should read this one in its entirety. All grading work in the vicinity of the spoils area proposed on lots 6, 7, and 8, including but not limited to slope preparation and fill placement, shall be performed under the supervision of a qualified geotechnical engineer. All costs associated with the geotechnical engineer shall be at the applicant's sole cost and expense. Periodic reports shall be prepared by such geotechnical engineer on no less than a weekly basis. It shall be submitted to the Town of Brunswick Building Department, Town of Brunswick MS4 officer, and the town designated review engineer on the same weekly interval. The report shall include but not be limited to a description of the work completed, any deviations from the plans, any corrective actions required, and the geotechnical engineer's professional opinion as to the overall integrity of the work performed. At the completion of the work, the geotechnical engineer shall provide certification to the Town of Brunswick that the work was performed in accordance with the plans and geotechnical recommendations, and that the slope is secure and stable. Prior to commencing any work on the site, a pre-construction conference shall be held, including the project owner, contractor, geotechnical engineer, Town of Brunswick Building Department, Town of Brunswick MS4 officer, and the town designated review engineer, to to review the contractor's approach to the work and clearly identify the area of concern as it pertains to the geotechnical engineer's responsibility. So that's been fleshed out a little bit more and was revised based on the board's discussion at the last meeting. That has been reviewed, take no pride of authorship, prepared by Ronald Burge, and I believe it's been provided to the applicant.
Yes, I forwarded on the draft earlier today.
The rest of the conditions, 6 through 15, are the same that was as reviewed at the last meeting. The grading work must be performed in compliance with the erosion and sediment control requirements of the project stormwater pollution prevention plan under the supervision of the town of Brunswick MS4 officer, and obviously compliance with the state and town stormwater management requirements must be met. And here, since the amount of grading is over several acres, the applicant will be required to obtain a waiver, if necessary, from DEC and or the town for all open graded areas in excess of 5 acres prior to stabilization. That'll be subject to, I think, the pre-work conference in terms of how the grading will proceed. If at any time there's any area open and unstabilized in excess of 5 acres, state law does require a waiver. There may be a way to do the grading work where there is stabilization work as you go, so that a waiver is not necessary, but that'll be reviewed by the town designated review engineer and the town department. DOT work permit or approval for the subdivision road intersection with Route 2. That permit or approval must be filed with the town prior to commencement of the site grading activities. This is to ensure that DOT has signed off on the subdivision road location. And then these are conditions clearly that must be satisfied prior to the plat being stamped or signed. Rensselaer County Health Department approval of septic designs for all residential building lots. Rensselaer County Health Department approval for the extension of public water supply for the project. The plan for extension for public water supply is subject to final comments of the town designated review engineer and the town water department. The plan for erosion and sediment control and stormwater pollution prevention plan are subject to final comments, again, of the town designated review engineer and the town MS4 officer. No further subdivision or re-subdivision of any residential lot in the Brunswick Acres PDD that would increase the total number of residential lots for this project to greater than 24. Generally, is a town requirement for driveways cut onto a town roadway with 2% negative back pitch. So the condition is all driveways must include a 2% negative back pitch for the first 10 feet from the proposed public subdivision roadway. Now, as a practical matter in this project, given the grades, particularly on the west side of the project site from the subdivision road, that may be difficult to achieve. So the condition goes on to say, or comply with a driveway drainage plan acceptable to the town designated review engineer, the town MS4 officer, and the town highway department. An easement for public water utility over the lands of Liberace and National Grid in recordable form must be filed with the town building department, the town water department, prior to commencement of site grading, just to make sure the required easements for that water work are in place. And also easements for utilities and drainage over the lands of Benavino in recordable form, likewise filed with the building department and the water department. And again, this is for water, but also for stormwater. And then 16 has been added, which is making sure that the final review comments of LaBerge Group, dated August 4th, are met. So subject to those comments in the final review amendment. And that's the proposed resolution in front of you. Procedurally, the matter is in front of you for consideration. The public hearing was held. Responses to comments have been submitted and reviewed. The town designated review engineer has gone through and reviewed the project plans. Obviously, significant amount of work done on the site grading plan. And again, this is in front of you for consideration of conditional final subdivision approval, subject to the conditions for district.
And we're proceeding under the seeker that was filed and acted upon by the town board.
That's correct. The town board did undertake a coordinated seeker review and declared themselves lead agency for this action and did adopt a negative declaration. And so this is one of the required approvals for this action, but the town board did complete the seeker review for the project.
Is there any discussion? Questions? Did the Verge have any comments?
Nothing further?
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept this.
So it will be in the form of the resolution. So the resolution is authored by member Tarbox.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Well, if I, that's fine. If I can do it, you can do a quick roll call of that.
Member Tarbox?
Yes.
Member Manila?
Aye.
Member Krieger?
Aye.
Member Stanfield votes aye. Resolution done. Good luck.
What we think?
Thank you.
So we make sure that the municipal record's complete. We'll finalize the resolution with those votes. We file it with the town clerk, with the building department, with the complete CC list. The resolution in full will be attached to the minutes, so it will also be online as part of the minutes.
Item 2 on our agenda is the Polson Development Site Plan. The applicant seeks to construct a 2-story medical building on property located at 112 Chesney Avenue. Polson Development is the applicant.
Rick Dustler from Creek Meeting, representing Paulson Development. Just very briefly, we did submit revised plans in SWIP on 8/11. If there are any questions that would come up between 8/11 and tonight, I'd be more than happy to try to address them. Another update, we were asked by the Rensselaer County DPW to do a traffic study. We have started that traffic study. We installed a camera yesterday and did traffic counts today. The sewer investigation I spoke about last meeting, that's been postponed until 8/29. The contractor had a camera issue. We just got it back today. I don't know why you didn't have 2 cameras, but we only have. I know I spoke about establishing lead agency and a public hearing. I'd like to change that request. I'd like to request that the public hearing be scheduled for 9/15. The 30-day period for seeker won't be up until the 8th of September. So it'd be nice to have lead agency and the public hearing on the 15th. I think it makes more sense. That will give us a little bit more time to address any additional comments that the board will make. That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Who'd you say requested the traffic study?
Rensselaer County. We have to get a driveway permit for that. Wayne had originally requested a site distance analysis, which we did. Subsequently sent that to the county, and they came back wanting more information, so we're doing a traffic study too.
The lot there, was that filled at one time, or it looks pretty like it was graded at one time?
A long time ago, it was built. I think it was back when they were building Walmart. That was quite a while, I don't know how many years ago, quite a few years ago.
Is that the elevation that the final's gonna be working off of, or
No,
could be raised up?
it's a fill site, definitely. So the, now the breathing here is what? I think we're probably coming up, probably about 8 feet or so,
Above what's there now?
correct?
And you'll be cutting the rear of the building then?
Yeah, we'll be cutting here, this is all ledge back here, so we're in the rock. We've tried to minimize that, obviously, because that's the most expensive part of developing the site. So that's really what set the location of the building and the entrance as well.
I was by there several times. I guess I'd like to see some sidewalks on McChesney Avenue to go from your entrance to where it goes down into the plaza.
Oh, this is McChesney Avenue.
Yeah,
You talking down this road?
no, that's private property, I guess. But from where that entrance to the plaza is, at the top of the page, back to your entrance.
So this piece here,
Yeah,
I could discuss that with my client.
either we did, McChesney Avenue Extension, we did just, like the road, we just made the road wider.
It was an extended paved shoulder.
Yeah, extended paved shoulder, and then county could maintain it when they plow instead of having to
County
shovel
doesn't
sidewalks.
maintain concrete sidewalks, so at the time, they agreed that if they just widened the shoulder, it would be easier to maintain in the winter time. They could drop the lane, level it off.
Either that or concrete, I don't know. But I think, that road through there is very narrow and anybody walking is,
The plan was always to provide eventually pedestrian access all the way from Rouse all the way down to Route 7. And they were doing it as projects came up. We would request that the pedestrian access be extended as projects made their way down through.
I don't know about going back towards the McChesney Avenue Extension from where you turn in. I didn't really look at that, but I think from your entrance towards 7, I think we could do something.
So again, right here,
Yeah,
I guess my only concern with that is to provide the sidewalk to nowhere. They have nowhere to
well,
go once they get the private drive.
there's sidewalks further up on the McChesney Avenue Extension that are even more or less than nowhere, because they're trying to hook up to yours to get to the plaza. Like he said, it's- as we go along, we're putting them in, right?
Or a widened shoulder?
I think you have to coordinate with the county as well, because that's a county road.
Sure.
But if we chose to put a sidewalk, on my client's property, I would suffice as well.
Yeah, as long as there's a destination, right? Like Craig said, you can't put a sidewalk nowhere because you're introducing pedestrians into an area where there could be a safety issue. But that's the only issue I see. So as long as they have somewhere to go, I think it's a good idea.
They get on that road down into the plaza, that's a lot less traveled than that road that's in McChesney Avenue. There's a lot of people whipping through McChesney Avenue. Well, we got two meetings to figure something out.
I think it's worth consideration and looking at that kind of further to see what can be done to improve the pedestrian access off the road.
Maybe we can discuss it further.
I gotta kind of look at the whole picture to
Right.
see what potentially could be done.
If that's okay with the board, I can discuss.
That's fine.
With Wayne next week. That's okay.
I have a couple of questions. It appears that there are numerous tax map parcels. Is it in the intent of the applicant to merge those parcels together?
We didn't have that intention. We can do that.
Seems like it would make sense. Or no? Around that.
Typically, when you have several tax parcels on one site, from a tax standpoint, I think the county prefers that they merge them. Yeah. For their kind of ease of keeping track of tax parcels. Right, we'll merge them. We'll merge.
Okay.
I don't think it's a big deal. No.
And then I have a- Ag data statement,
Pardon?
an agricultural data statement.
Yeah, I think we did. fill
That
that out.
got filled out. That's not in my file. Did you anticipate any blasting, or do you think that rock was really
They're planning on ripping it. Last thing is not anticipated.
And then my last comment was about the landscape plan. It just seemed like there was a lot of landscaping at the rear of the building, and then maybe that could be distributed forward of the building.
We did, I should have brought landscape. But we do have a berm here for the landscape.
It's like that rear, right at the
Oh, right
rear of
here?
the building, yeah, there's a
Right there.
huge, yeah. Seemed like, I didn't know if that was intended for some purpose, but it seemed like it could be better used elsewhere.
Okay. I'll have them take a look at that. Thank you.
And then my only other question was on the front facade landscaping. Maybe didn't seem appropriate with the fenestration on the front of the building, with the windows and things like that. So maybe just take a look at that as you're moving plants around. Did anyone else have any comments, questions? So you have sent the notice to,
The notice has been sent out to coordinate. I'm not aware that the town has received any responses to that. This was discussed at the zoning board Monday evening. There is an area variance, a height variance for the building. The zoning board has no objection to the planning board serving as lead agency. We're just waiting for responses from the other involved agencies.
when could you do it?
Right, I was going to say that the question will be done for the proposed public hearing date of September 15th, when whether the plans are complete enough for purposes of the public hearing.
I would say the plans are complete enough to hold the public hearing. A lot of our comments don't really change the site a whole lot, and kind of do some of the grading and stuff. Stormwater, the comments aren't too bad there either. think can we change anything as far as the concept and the way it's laid out, so. I would say certainly the site plan is leaving out the whole thing, right?
Can I ask about the landscaping comments? Studio A is our landscape consultant. Is there any way that they could coordinate with you so they can get exactly what you're looking for? Because
Yeah, I think if you just give them those comments, they'll understand.
okay,
If they just look at the building elevation and the plantings on the foundation and then the planting in the rear. Seem like I could get dispersed somewhere else on site. It'd be more beneficial to the public. Any objection on the board to having a public hearing on 9/15?
No.
Schedule the public hearing for 9/15. And would you like to be on the agenda for our next meeting, which is September?
I don't think there's any reason to. We might have some more comments based on.
Yeah, we'll finish our review of your response to our comments and get something back to them. Wait. In the next couple of weeks.
Thanks.
Number 3 on the agenda is Bernina. Am I saying that correctly? A waiver of subdivision. The applicant seeks to subdivide approximately 6.6 acre parcel to create 2 new parcels containing 2.96 acres and 3.65 acres of property located at 137 Hamrack Road. All Bernina is the applicant.
Slight change with that has turned out to be a lot line adjustment. The lot is going to be merged into Mr. Bernini's lot.
So, still a waiver?
Right.
More of a waiver than it was before.
Did anyone have any questions about the revised map that was submitted? It's dated August 11th. And it's stamped, signed by the surveyor of record McGrath. We have there's no comments or questions on it. We have a seeker. For that. Does anyone have a,
Does he have to do an ag data statement?
It's a fair question, Dave, because it is a subdivision. It's a waiver of subdivision, no new lot is being created. But there's a requirement for an ag data statement. Is it in an existing ag district?
I don't think so, but I think that it's
I can just
just a lot line adjustment. I think that hold it up for Wendy Buck sold most of the land to the solar people. And, Gary Messimer I think that's a landlocked piece that's
Mhm.
family's holding on for some other way. But they only grow hay over there, if anything, so.
Did not come up on the EAF macro summary questions, but it's short EAF.
It did not come up on that.
At the end of the secret document, run down. Don't believe on the short form there's any
Yeah,
question about ag.
got it. No, you're correct on that. Dave, I would think the critical issue here is that no new lot is being created, it's in the nature of a lot line adjustment. And we'll note that for the record.
So would anyone like to make a seeker?
With the negative declaration.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. The application for the waiver of subdivision.
I'll make a motion.
And that should be subject to the condition that you will have a deed that will merge this land into your existing lot. It'll be a merger deed. When that's completed, that copy of that gets filed with the building department. Okay.
Any further discussion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You all set? Would you like your maps back?
Yeah, I'm gonna collect it.
Went out tonight.
I get all these signed stamps to be called
Number 4 on our agenda is
Thank you.
Santoro, minor subdivision. The applicant seeks a minor subdivision approval to subdivide approximately 5 acres from a 98.688 acre parcel to create a new building lot on property located at 192 Bald Mountain Road. Vincent Santoro is the applicant. Anyone hear from that application?
Mr. Santoro nor Peter Cucci, who has been the representative for this applicant, are here this evening. They understand that they have to get the topos and a lot of other material on their survey. So what they have decided to do was to push ahead and put the house on 98 acres. And they will continue to work to getting the topos and what else is needed from the board to be able to bring in and get the 5 acre subdivision. But the house is continuing on the 98 acres.
So we will table that without date.
And I think at this point, we consider the application withdrawn, right?
They didn't write official withdrawal.
Well, the issue is going to be, they're building a house, and it's going to be 6 months, it's going to be a year before they subdivide it off. Can't have an open application.
Oh, I didn't expect it to be that long. They just decided to push
That's
ahead
the journey
with the
right now.
permit.
It's subject to confirmation by Ken.
Okay. That's good.
Number 5 on our agenda is Atlas Renewables, the North Troy Solar Special Use Permit and Site Plan. Applicant seeks to construct a commercial solar collector facility on property located off Oakwood Avenue and Farrell Road. Atlas Renewables LLC is the applicant.
First of all, apologies, our name was on the August 4th list. In the same day, I submitted this documentation. I took for granted that the planning board didn't have time to review those documents. And apologize, I didn't classify because I thought I would not be on the agenda. The intention today is to review the first point that on the public hearing by July 7th, on the joint meeting between the planning board and the zoning board. There was a list of questions that we have provided some answers. I will follow the board recommendation. If you want to go question by question and summarize our answers, if there is a specific question that the board wants to check in more detail, we can go into that specific question. In parallel, we have been working with Mr. Bonsfield. Up to now, the stormwater pollution prevention plan is complete. Just as if you request me to include a sentence, it has been included and we submit to you the drawings you have already with where is the stepping area. So as far as I know, these documents are complete. The question number one was which is distance between a specific parcel, 58 Eastern Boulevard, to the project site. It is reflected on the exhibit A of this document, but the distance is approximately 1,200 feet, which is plenty of room. The next questions are regarding the fence. Which type of fence, if you can provide a description of the fence, and if you can provide some pictures and visuals of the fence. The fence will be from 7 to 7.5 feet tall. This fence will consist on poles treated with poles of 5 to 6 inches in diameter, and this pole will be 7.5 to 8 feet in height. The distance from pole will be approximately 10 to 14 feet, and when there is a corner, we'll install a metallic piece to support those poles. A picture of this fence can be seen on page number 8, exhibit B. This is typically how this fence would look like.
Is it a wire fence or a plastic fence?
It's metallic. It's metallic. Metallic. The question number 4 was the visual of the fence. Please refer to attachment B. It's a metallic fence between the wood treated with poles. Then the question number 5 is the distance between the field of horrors and the project site. These distances are reflected on the attachment A, and there is only one comment that strictly talking about the building which corresponds to the field of horrors is this building here, where there is the cursor. The distance between the field of horrors and the project site is 500 feet. We have reflected other distances, is 270 feet, is 300 feet, because strictly speaking, this is the building of the field of horrors, but we were not completely certain which was the distance that the board was looking for. In this attachment A, it's also reflected which is the distance from this 58 Biscayne Boulevard to the first module. It is the distance from the end of the property to the distance to the fence. The distance to the fence of the project. Taking advantage that we are now also in this attachment A. The attachment A is reflecting as well the number of acres that we are cutting, we are proposing to cut for the trees. In total, it's approximately 8.5 acres. These areas are marked here, are marked here, and are marked here. So in total, approximately 8.5 acres. The next question was a visual simulation of the project site from residential areas. We have produced and we have included in Exhibit C this visual report. In this visual report, we have taken from all the surrounding streets, some aerial pictures, some ground level pictures, and some 3D simulated pictures. The dots with the blue dots corresponds to ground level pictures, the yellow corresponds to aerial pictures, and the arrow corresponds to the direction where these pictures were taken with the drone or the ground level. We have represented as well the 3D simulation. So we have been taking from Brunswick Meadows, Bell Lane, Oakwood Avenue, Farrell Road, Liberty Road, some aerial pictures. Usually one of the aerial pictures are at 300, 350, 380 feet, where at this elevation it's easy to distinguish where it's located, the solar farm, and another picture usually between the 100, 130 feet, where at this elevation it's difficult to see where is the location of the solar farm. Then, of course, at the ground level, the visual impact is small, you cannot see the solar farm. This is from Highland Cirque. This is from Monica Overlook. This is from High Point Drive. This is from Farrell Road in the crossing with Liberty Road, Wells Line, and now the ground levels with the same order. So Brunswick Meadows, different pictures from Brunswick Meadows. You can see the vegetation. One of the ladies, which in the July 7th meeting addressed the questions, she's living exactly in this house. So the 1506 is exactly this house, and we can pay a little bit more attention to the surroundings of this house to prove that the visual impact will be low. This is Oakwood Avenue. This is Oakwood Avenue in front of the former municipality incinerator, and Oakwood Avenue in front of the former municipality incinerator. Oakwood Avenue. This is High Point Drive, Scarlet's Drive, Farrell Road, close to the Oakwood Avenue, in the middle of the Farrell Road again, Liberty Road, Bells Lane, and now the off-grid conditions. As mentioned, one of the points of concern was this house, which is one of the ladies who made a couple of questions, and we include these questions in this report. We have produced from the ground level, from 30 feet elevation, from 45 feet elevation, from 140 feet elevation, and the result is that no, the solar farm is not visible. We have produced as well the simulations, in this case at 100 feet elevation from Highland Circle, Highway 1, Farrell Road, and crossing with Liberty, Bells Lane. We already presented these pictures in the previous morning board. And this is the end of the visual report. Back to question number 7. Question number 7 is in regards to which is the number of acres that will be putting. We are proposing to remove the trees, as mentioned previously, and reflected on attachment 8.5 acres. Question number 8 is about the noise that on the decibel levels that the inverters will be producing. We have included an attachment D from the manufacturer, which in meters, which is easy to translate into feet, multiplying just by 3 approximately. They are referring about the distance, about the noise and the different distances. I will go 1 second to this attachment D. The attachment D is two documents. One document is provided by the inverter manufacturer, and in this document, the inverter manufacturer is mentioning at these distances, again, in meters, so if you multiply by 3, this will be 3 meters, 3 feet, 30 feet, approximately 300 feet. This is the noise that at this distance, in decibels, you will listen to hear from the inverter. For the board to have an idea about if this is a lot or this is not a lot, just one comment. The typical distances in this project from the house to the inverter center is around 700, 800, 1,000, and more than 1,000 feet. So in this case, we are talking about 100 meters, which will be the corresponding approximately 300 feet. This will be 43 decibels. If we go to the next table, the next document shows probably in a better way to understand what is the levels of noise and what is the typical example of machine or a situation that which would produce such a level of noise. This is classified as painful and tenuous, this is classified as uncomfortable, very loud, and then loud. At 1 meter distance of 75 feet, 3 feet, the inverter manufacturer is declaring 75 decibels, which would be loud. At a distance of 100 meters or 300 feet, the inverter manufacturer is declaring 43 decibels. 43 decibels, this will be the corresponding of a wide library. Again, we are not at 300 feet, we are a much longer distance, a much farther distance than 300 feet. And also just a reminder that this will be the noise during the day. During the night, there will be no production, and therefore the inverter will be in standby and will produce no noise. If we return to question number 9, on question number 9, it was a request to clarify if we will be producing any digging or grading. No, we will not be producing any grading works. We will keep the same orography and the same topography as the existing one. And yes, there will be some digging. If digging, we understand that there will be some trenching works to connect the cables from the inverter to the interconnection point. Question number.
I have a question. Tree removal, you're gonna leave the stumps, you're not gonna grub the stumps, you're not gonna dig them out.
Our intention is to remove the stumps. If the interpretation, if your question is that if you are removing the stumps, then you are producing grading, well, we understand compactation or leveling. We are not understanding this as grading. It is necessary to clarify that we are not producing earthworks, but we have the intention to remove the stumps, and therefore we will compact the area where we are moving the stumps, then we will improve
Are you just gonna grind the stumps, or are you gonna
We will remove the
grind
stumps.
them right out?
If it's necessary, we may extend our answer to this question, clarifying that we are not producing earthworks. If grading is understood as, hey, when you remove the stump, you are producing some grading. Well, in our view, we are producing some compacting or some leveling. But
Well, we would consider that disturbance in the area. Removing the stumps.
Stump and grub usually does go under disturbance, yes. I think you'll find it more effective to grub with a dozer than you will grinding.
If your government's disturbance, something like this, increase the area of your scope.
You may have to look at that in your SWIP. You might include that in the area of disturbance, it could change things.
Okay. We can do that, and if this is a major change, and we'll keep the stumps. So our preference would be to remove the stumps, it's easy to install, but if it is something that is critical for the project, we can.
Are the tree removal areas clearly identified on the site plan?
Yes. Yes, on the site plan. This is the plan that we showed maybe yesterday, a couple of days ago. On sheet number 2, this is the proposal including area, which is these areas here. Apologies. This one will not be removed, this one which is hatched, and this one it will be also removed. So yes, there is a map where we are identifying which are the areas that will be replaced. May I jump to the next question or? The next question is number 10, the full stormwater impact. We have been preparing the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Now pending to his final review. In principle, there is no impact. Actually, the results shows that the runoff conditions comparing the pre-existing and the post-construction conditions are improving a little bit the situation. Question number 11, which is also one of the questions of the lady who submitted the question to the town, is impact on the property values. We have provided different references and different studies, the experience in other countries and in other states where the mature market is where the solar market is more mature than in the state of New York, shows us that no, there is no negative impact on the property values when these solar farms is properly screened and the distance is 300 feet or more from these houses. These are the different public sources, independent sources, like the University of Texas, covering 23 states, and concluding that no, it is our own belief that the solar farm installation has a negative impact on the values of the home. Again, when it's properly screened and when the distance is 300 or above 300 feet from the residences. Question number 12. Clarifying whether the land is a lease or a purchase. We have an option to lease agreement with the landowner. It would be our interest to have an option to purchase this land, but because of the interest of the current landowner, Mr. Thomas Murphy, and therefore we entered into lease agreement. Question number 13, whether or not pesticides and herbicides will be used. We confirm that no, we will not be using pesticides or herbicides. And then there are a couple of questions from Ms. Barbara Burton and Ms. Lucy Bosch from 1501 Brunswick Meadows. One of the questions is about the wetland delineation. She's proposing if we can, the distance between the solar modules and the wetland area, if in her view should be a farther distance. What we are replying is that there is a nationwide permit 51 proposed by the Division of Water of the PEC, the US Army Corps of Engineers, which is giving the chance to install modules on top of the wetland areas. We are not considering to install solar modules on top of wetland areas, but we consider that the distance that we are keeping from the solar modules to the federal wetlands is more than okay. And the second concern from these two ladies is that her property may be negatively affected with the installation of the solar farm. We refer to question number 11, where we have provided different references and different studies showing that this is a misconception. That's all the 14 questions that we had from the public hearing. Any other questions from the board? Any other thing that the board would like to ask?
Will your lease parcel be a certain distance beyond the tree clearing so that you'll have some control over the vegetative screen that exists?
Yes. Yes. Let me try to. We'll keep both in the north, both in the east, of course, in the east, and also in the south, within the parcel, or within the parcels controlled by Mr. Thomas Murphy, a good perimeter to control, a good trees perimeter.
Within your lease parcel?
Within our lease area, what we can do is we can plant some additional small trees, but in principle, our lease agreement with Mr. Thomas Murphy is just for the solar farm.
Just to the fence?
Does the leased area include your staging area?
Yes. Well, the staging area is.
I was a little confused by the difference between the lease area and the area of the solar farm and the staging area, which you identified as that area where your cursor is.
We have an agreement with Mr. Thomas Murphy, the landowner, to use during the construction, the 4-6 month period, is a staging area. Yes. This area, and we would love to use this area permanently to install modules, but this area is intended for the fields of corals during the month of October, during Halloween, to park cars here in this area. So, unfortunately,
Cars there?
yes. Very quickly, but only for one week, but yes, there is an intention.
It appears that there's still a little bit of work to be performed by the applicant in terms of the stormwater report.
Yeah, we had reviewed this SWIP and you replied to the comments, but I gotta go back and look at what they used for disturbance area and how that will impact some of the design of the stormwater and the SWIP. As far as other technical items that we have reviewed, They had provided the information that I had requested.
Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? Would be ready for the first meeting in September, or we should put you on the agenda for the 5th?
If I can make a suggestion, it might be good for the board to put the project on for the first to confirm Wayne's review that everything is outstanding, if there's any final comments, and then we can, Wayne and I can prepare proposed conditions for the project, set of standard conditions for large-scale solar projects. And that way, if there's anything outstanding, that can get discussed on the first prior to putting that resolution together.
So it will be for September 5th, or to be determined in the next weeks, if it's September 5th, September 15th.
It's September 1st
September 1st.
is the next planning board meeting. That'll be further, possibly final deliberation, and then a little work for drafting the resolution for the September 15th meeting.
Does he still have business with the zoning board?
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at the calendar now.
That's a fair point.
Because September, no, I don't think so. The month starts on a Thursday, so the zoning board will be meeting behind the planning board. Planning board meeting 15th, zoning board meeting 19th.
When's the August zoning board?
October?
The
August is done. We had it on Monday, yeah.
So their next meeting is after our second.
Yeah. They have to go through the public comments.
Yeah, they'll be going through the public comments at that meeting.
We can't act till at least the first meeting in October.
We'll have you on the agenda for the 1st of September, and then we probably won't meet again on your application until the 6th of October.
For the first? Pardon me? That's the only thing we got for the first.
No, we
So
had-
far.
Well, and for was that the,
So far, we'll go through the new business and see what comes up.
all right, new business.
Thank you.
We also had a folk hearing.
That was what we do with Bernini. Yeah, that was the old thing. We can do the High Peak Solar now if you want. Those folks have been patient.
So our new business is the High Peak Solar. This is an application for special use permit. Thirty-six panels at a single family residence.
That's correct.
Did you do panels up on Wilson before?
Different company.
No. Really well.
No.
Great question. Save on it.
Mhm.
We reviewed all the regulations for small scale ground mount. And we're trying to follow them all. grace for them.
These are on monopoles.
Yep. Well mount, adjustable angle racks.
So there's solar tracking?
All the way back.
They're single axis tractors, so they change the angle. They're not east-west daily tracking, so it's a manual adjustment.
So you do a seasonal tracking?
Yeah. So we do 4 times a year, so.
Homeowner. That's those.
It's an hand crank, ground level, so it's easy.
I'm sure on the tracking system.
And, we're in the racks by company in Montana. MT Solar.
Overall height.
I was 20 feet, we could go below that. Even at the tallest angle, 13 feet roughly. There's a lot of natural screening surrounding that location. If you look to the west, there's quite a bit of growth that will provide screening.
Any more questions? Wayne, did you have any questions?
I just wonder if he's gonna be providing some cut sheets of, the equipment and the panels.
So that was provided as part of the application, to build, as part of the permit package, and it was included with, it's actually, no, I didn't submit that yet, did I? But yeah, that's, I think, we submitted all that. Install manuals, inspections.
So our normal, order of business for new applications is to secure them for the first night. And then we'll, put you on our agenda for the next meeting, which is September 1st, again, the Thursday night at 7 PM. Here's a, you'll be second on the agenda. And then we'll go over the full application if you have that information. That the engineer requested prior to that, that would be helpful.
Sure.
Drawing a blank public hearing.
Yeah, will be a mandatory public hearing for the special use permit. And given the 10-day notice requirements, that's generally not the next successive meeting, but the one after. So one thing for you to consider is if it's on the September 1 agenda, making sure completeness review is done. The public hearing is likely the first meeting in October.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I'll email, spec sheets.
Yeah, give him the Chuck will get him on
And wondering if there's some distances on.
Yeah, put some, distances to the, property line. Will be more than, will be double the required setback
Okay.
from the zone. Which is 10 feet to the sideline. 50, at least 20 feet.
So it's 20, 45.
Can we've got some history up there with ground mount panels.
What's that?
We've got some history up there with ground mount panels. Can you take some pictures from Wilson Road?
I've got some, yeah, I can, email those to Chuck perhaps, but, yeah, it's the system that's there is close to the road. This would be, probably at least double that distance off the road. Maybe I can take pictures looking, I've got some looking west and looking towards the road, towards the back. It's there's no visual impact. And so again, same looking to the east, because you've got the trees and then the national grid lines there on that side.
And is the inverter at the poles, or is it?
Yeah, these will be using microinverters, so they're under each panel.
Under each panel, so there's no backboard. There's no backboard with the disconnect at.
That's right.
Okay. Anything else? We'll see you on first. Thank you.
Thanks.
And next on new business is phones.
This one.
Application for waiver of subdivision.
Elmview.
One legal deal.
Yeah, what this applicant would like to do is fairly deep in the package, you have the tax map. What this applicant would like to do is remove the land hook across from Elmview. That parcel that is across Elmview that is part of their parcel is going to be sold to the existing bordering parcel, and they're just going to merge it into their own.
4.2 is going to buy the half, and 4.1 will be 3.4.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly the division is because, I haven't run the numbers on that half acre, but they would be removing that. So this parcel would be here, that parcel would be there. And the question is exactly what this.
Is this the same application that this came out a few weeks ago?
You got it when you, same thing. Yeah, as a matter of fact,
Remember this?
Kevin's got it in front of him.
Wasn't this?
She is not going to create another lot here, disregard that. So that's
So it's not gonna be the same as what's on here?
No, they're not going to create another lot before. That has gone away. The realtor said that it would be much more advantageous for her to sell her existing home to, if there wasn't that lot taken out to the side of it. So.
What do they want to do?
What they want to do is remove this.
Remove the land hook. Remove this land hook right here. This parcel will go with that property, and this will just remain the same.
Gotcha.
So
Three will become two.
Or how to accomplish
Well,
that.
it's really 2 will become 2.
So this parcel
is already
will go
one.
with this. Correct.
But this lot.
So whether they will,
We need an ag data statement on this one.
She's got it.
yeah, there is an ag data statement in the package on this one. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't think about it for Bermuda, right across the street.
Okay. Are there any structures on these lots?
No.
So,
Are there any structures? I'm sorry, I didn't see where your finger landed.
so,
There is a home here.
but that's not what they own. That's a third party.
That is a third party, correct?
This is vacant,
Yes, it is.
and they'll remove the Z hook and sell it to 4.2 and merge it.
Yes.
And then that is the remaining lot.
Correct.
Which one's the applicant?
The applicant is 4 point, well, let me see the other one.
4.1, I presume.
Yeah, 4.1 is
They
the
own
applicant.
everything.
Yeah. I am, she has a copy of the deed, and I have not seen it yet.
Is there public water up there?
I
believe there is, yes.
It's on Pinewood.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, well, let me check that.
Let me check that.
So we'll add this to the agenda for the 1st of September.
Looks like it goes in 2 deep off of Pine Woods, 2 parcels deep, and that's it. So you're looking at a well and a septic system.
Did you want to see that? Wayne?
What's that?
Did you want that added?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's well in the septic. You need to know where they are for this kind of thing. Probably
In that,
not. I don't think anything will cross. Elmview, but
They're getting
You never
more
know.
land. I suppose.
Yeah, so it might be helpful if they could put on the map.
Please tell you.
there's a parcel on County 111 where the septic field was across 111 for the house. So it happens.
Wasn't that tried up on Hudson? Or Brunswick Drive, I believe?
One guy wanted to do the Route 2. A whole bunch of houses where the old dairy farm is, and then put the septic fields on the other side of Route 2.
Can't be easy crossing the state highway with a septic line.
Kind of got going on with that. It didn't get very far.
So I would assume that she needs a map. There is something that we're going to have to physically approve.
Correct. Again, the waiver regs say it doesn't need to be a formal survey, but it does need to be a map.
A scaled drawing,
Correct.
actually, is what it said.
Yes,
Yes.
Tax map.
More than a tax map.
Yeah.
She won't be ready by the first thing. She's got. No.
So what are we saying, a tax map is sufficient
No,
for a waiver?
no, there has to be another drawing.
Yeah.
And that drawing, as you said, should depict, if it's not public water, the water and septic location.
Wells.
What did you say she had that you hadn't seen?
The
Oh, deed. She won't be ready by the first then.
Is that Dave?
She won't be ready by the first.
Probably not.
want to put it tentative and,
Yeah, but yeah, you put that in.
yeah. She has incentive to be moving on this because she is putting the house up for sale and moving to Arizona to be closer to their daughter. So,
115.
Make a water line that goes from Brunswick to
Steve Lee? Shortage of tomatoes.
so I will inform her that she needs the well and the septic label and a scale drawing.
anything else?
And that was it for new business.
Any further discussion about the zoning rules?
I don't think that's necessary tonight. There's more work that'll be undertaken by the town board. So that right now, I've got September 1 agenda, North Troy Solar, High Peak Solar, and Oakfield waiver tentative. And then Paulson, at the September 15th meeting, public hearing.
Are we on the clock with North Troy Solar?
No, the only clock concern for the board in subdivisions that can result in a default approval if the site plan or special use permit.
No,
There's
no
no
block.
default approval.
And telecommunications.
That's correct. You gotta move those.
Okay.
I did get a query about another user going on the Halish Road up the quarry. So I've got to pull the records from that and see how many carriers were allowed. And that, I guess Tower's been there a while.
Yeah.
So,
We put it in. One of the quarry, it's not been there forever,
yeah.
10, 12 years maybe.
So I'll dig that out.
Wasn't Sean the chair when that went in?
Let's see,
It's like
15.
15 years.
Yeah, anyway.
It's not the first one. I mean, it's-
First one.
It's gotta be on a pretty big little piece of rock. 'Cause you can see more and more of it all the time.
Yeah.
If I look at it, can I object to it? It's ruining my view.
There's no other discussion. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.